What's going on, fellow web developers? My name is Tyler Potts, and in today's video we're going to be looking at taking a screenshot using Node.js and Vue.js for the front end. So as you can see here, we've got a simple take screenshot screen with a little input field here. So what we're going to do is type in a URL. I'm going to type in my own, tylerpotts.co.uk, click take screenshot, and after a couple of seconds, as you can see, it's now taken a screenshot of my live website right here. So there you go, there's the website, and it's just taken a screenshot of it here. So that is what we're going to build in today's video. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so in case you guys weren't aware, my Discord server got hacked. We lost everything, so I created a new one. The new one's new and improved. It has a lot more features with using a lot less stuff, and also it's got it's more secure, so hopefully we don't get hacked again. But guys, feel free to join us. The link's in the description of this video. We've just started it up, but already there's been plenty of conversation. So guys, get involved, get joined in with the community and help grow yourself as a web developer, guys. Thank you for listening to me, and let's crack on with the rest of the video. Okay guys, so first thing first, we're going to need to install Node.js. So if you already have Node.js installed, then skip to the next step of installing Vue.js. So all you're going to do is you're going to go to nodejs.org. You're going to click on the recommended for most users. You can click on latest if you want. I recommend using the recommended. Click download, and it's going to download and install it for you. So we'll wait for that to do. So now that's installed, we can click on this, and this will open it up in a little window here. So we can just run through the installer as simple as just click next. Choose where to install it, wherever's fine for me. Next. I'm not going to install this. I'm just going to click next, and then I'm just going to click install. Now this is going to take a couple of minutes. It could take a couple of minutes, or it could be quite quick. So once that's ran, you should have Node.js installed. Actually, I got a little pop-up there, and there you go. It's now validated, install, updating, and hopefully this should be done in just a second. Okay guys, that's now finished, so let's just click finish. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the terminal. So once Node is installed, all we're going to do is go in here and type node fee. Now if this doesn't work for you, you may have to add it to the path. To do that, you're going to use this command here, set path, and then you're going to get the path to your Node.js. So as you can see here, I installed mine here. You'll need to know where you installed it, and then little semicolon, and then $path, $ here, enter. And that is going to add it to your path. Clear, and now you should be able to type node-fee for that to work. Now once that's done, you should also be able to go npm fee, and you can see I'm at 7.15 here as well. Perfect. So the next thing we need to do is go npm IG. So this is going to install, and we're going to install Vue.js. So we're going to say Vue/CLI. Hit enter, and this should install for you. This may take a minute, so I'll see you once this is done. Okay guys, now that is done, we're going to open up our folder. So make sure you have a nice new folder. Open this up in Visual Studio Code, or whatever text editor you want to open it up in. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to create two folders. One's going to be called Client. The other one is going to be called Surfer. Now the Surfer is going to be our Node.js. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up in an integrated terminal. We're going to say npm init. And then here it is. It's going to ask us package name Surfer. Yep, that's fine. Version. You could probably just tab for all of this. I'm going to name the entry point surfer.js. And the rest of this is all fine. You can put your own name here if you want. Hit enter. Bam. Done. Cool. So that's created as a package.json file. The next thing we're going to want to do is actually install a bunch of different dependencies. Now the main one we're going to need is Express. But, well, no, sorry, the main one we're actually going to need is Puppeteer, but we're also going to need Express, so we're going to need something called Puppeteer, just like that. And we're going to need Course as well, because, you know, Node stuff doesn't like Course normally. So we're going to install these three dependencies now. So hit enter, and that's going to install those. Have a look if this is done yet, and as you can see, it is now done, which is perfect. Now once that is done, we're going to want to create our Surfer, or we're actually going to need one more. We're going to say npm install -d. This stands for a development dependency, and this could be called NodeMon. Now, I'm going to explain this later on, not now. So let's just install that, and then once that's installed, we will crack on with this. So that's cool. Now inside of our surfer, we'll create a new file. Now this is going to be called surfer.js. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically call some dependencies. So I'm going to go in here and say Puppeteer is equal to require, and we're just going to say Puppeteer, just like that. We're then going to want to get Express. Now Express is going to be our surfer, or basically run our surfer. So we're just going to say require Express. The next thing we're going to want to do is basically get a path, because we're going to want to be using the file system here. Just to be able to save, well, get a path to where we're going to save our images. So we're just going to say path. That's not a semicolon. And then we're going to actually create our app. So we're going to say const. Actually, no, first we need course, sorry. So we need to require our course. Now, I'll explain these as we get along. So next up, we need the app, which is the Express application we're going to be creating. We're then going to say app.use. Now, oh, not unsubscribe. Use. And what we're going to want to do is we need to give a file structure or a naming structure to where our public folder will go to. So we're going to call this static. It's just a default thing we normally do. So now in express.static, so we're just going to define the static path here, and we're just going to say path.join, and then we're going to say underscore dir name, which is going to be the current directory, and public, which is going to be a folder we create inside of Surface. We're going to right click, new folder, public, and then inside of here, we're also going to create another folder called screenshots, so we can actually save our screenshots into this folder. Now we don't need this just yet, but that's what we're going to call it. We're then going to say app.use, and we're going to say course. Now this is just going to stop us from having any course errors on the front end, and this will basically allow us to use cross-origin basically. Now we're going to use one more piece of middleware, so we're going to say app.use, and this is going to be express.json, because we're going to be working with JSON, basically JSON data. We're going to be sending it back and forth between the surfer and the client. We're going to be using JSON. So Express has a really handy tool built in. We used to need body parser to do this. You don't anymore, which is really nice. Now we're going to set up our, well, let's start the surfer first. Or yeah, let's start the surfer. So we're going to say listen, and we're just going to say on port 5000 by default. And then we're just going to, in here, get rid of that out. We're just going to log saying surfer has started on port 5000. Now that's fine. Now let's actually go into our integrated terminal again inside of Surfer, and we're just going to run a command in here. We're going to say node, and we're just going to say surfer.js. Now this is going to run. It's going to ask you, do you want to allow this to run? If it's the first time you're running it, just click allow access. It's not going to do anything dangerous. Basically, all it does is allows it to connect to your computer, and there you go. We now got a surfer started on port 5000, but we have no roots. So let's just create an app.post, and this is going to be called /screenshot. We're then going to use an asynchronous, so we're going to say async function, arrow function, res, which is going to basically go through here. Now the reason we need asynchronous is because we're going to be using Puppeteer uses asynchronous requests to do anything with another browser, which means we're going to need to call async and await to actually use it correctly. Let's close that down there. So this surfer's now running, but anytime we make a change to it, you'll see nothing updates. So to update it, we're going to go into our package.json. We're going to remove the test script, and we're going to create our own. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say start def surf. We'll call it surf, and then we're just going to say, so this is the name of the script we're creating, and then we're just going to say nodemon surfer.js, and that's all we do. So now in here we say npm run, and this will run whatever script we call, and we're going to call surf, and now it will use nodemon to surf this. Now that means anytime we make a change inside of our surfer.js file, it will restart just like that, as you saw. So if I just save again, you'll see it restarted due to changes, and bam, that means it will forever restart and change. So now we've done that, let's actually create a constant, and we'll call this ID. So we need to get an ID a unique ID for every single screenshot we take, so we can actually give it. And we could come up with a UUID or whatever, a unique ID. But I'm just going to use the date. So we're going to say date So we're going to get a new date dot get time, and then inside of here, we're going to say dot to string 36. Now this, what this is going to do is basically going to convert our date or time to a string, which is going to be unique because, you know, date and time is or the time is going to be very unique. And then to string of 36, which is basically going to give it a very custom string. And there you go. That's all we need for our custom ID. We now need to create a new path. So we're actually going to call this path or URL or location lock. We'll call it lock for location. And we're just going to say /public. So this is going to be our public folder. /screenshots / and then we're just going to add in our ID plus our .png at the end. So we're going to create a file with this called .png. Now we've used these, but you could use anything you want you could use the string concatenation or whatever like that. It's up to you what you use there. You could use templating strings. I don't know why I use this. I should use templating strings, but it's fine. We've already done it, so we're going to stick with it. We're then going to say constant browser. Now this is where we're going to get into Puppeteer. So what we're going to do is we're going to say await. As I said, this is why we need async. Puppeteer .launch, and now we're going to launch a new browser. So what it's going to do is it's going to create a new browser using Puppeteer, which we can actually use to get places. So we're going to say default viewport, and we're basically going to say how wide we want. So we're going to say 1920, and the height can be 1080p, you know, a standard monitor screen size nowadays. And then under here, we're going to give it one more. It's going to be called ignore default args, and we're going to pass an array of arguments we want to ignore, and that's going to be disable extensions. Now the reason we're doing this on Windows, on Mac you shouldn't have to do this, but on Windows sometimes I get a lot of issues, and this fixes it. That's all you need to know. This fixes some issues I get on Windows. On Mac, I actually originally built this on my Mac and it worked fine without it, so the more you learn. So we're going to create another variable called page. Now this is going to be the page we want to get. So we're going to say await browser.new page. We're then going to say page.go to, or not get to, go to, and this is going to take us to whatever URL we give in here. So when we make this post request, we actually get a request and response, and in our request we get a body, and inside this body we're going to pass a URL, and that is what we're going to use to get our URL we're going to go to. So we're going to say create a new page. The page is going to go to this URL. And then once we're on this URL, we're going to take a screenshot. So this is where we take a screenshot. This is going to be open page. This is going to be start browser. Just give it some comments, just to make it look a bit cleaner. And here is set path and ID. There you go. So now in take screenshots, or take a screenshot, we're just going to say await page, and this is where it gets really complicated, screenshot. As you can see, that is as complicated as get. Now we do have to pass one parameter in here, an option, and it's called a path, and that all we're going to do is pass through our lock, our location, and this is basically what we're going to use to connect to, or to take a screenshot. And now it's going to save it to our location here. So this is the save path. So this is the path it will save to. The file path to save the image to. There you go. That's all it is. We're going to do one more await. So pretty much everything you do inside of a browser is going to be done with the await. And we're going to close it. So once we have opened it and we've taken our screenshot and saved it, we're going to close our browser. Now the final thing we're going to do is we need to send a response back to our client. So inside the server, we're going to make a post request to screenshot, to the server /screenshot. And we're going to pass through a body of URL. And then we're going to take the screenshot. And once we've done that, we need to tell the client where you get that image from and if it was successful. So what we're going to do is rest.json. And in here, we're just going to say success. And we're just going to set that to true. And then we're going to pass through the ID. So the ID we created up here, we're just going to pass back to the client here. And now the client is going to be able to know where to go to screenshots and actually pass through the ID to get its own screenshot. Now this looks great and it's all good, but we can't actually test it right now because we basically need to create something to actually send the request. We could use Postman, but since we're going to be creating a client anyway, let's just get straight into that. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click client and we're going to click open in integrated terminal. Now I'm just going to clear in here and I'm just going to say Vue. So this is why we installed Vue earlier. We're going to say create and then we're just going to do dot. So that's dot means create it in the current folder, which is our client. Hit enter and now this is going to run. It's going to say, do you want to generate in the current directory? Yes. We're just going to use default Vue 3 Babel and ESLint. Hit enter because we're going to be using the composition API. I find it useful and quicker to do than writing out a bunch of different options in the option API. Okay, now that has finished. You can see here it says press npm run surf to actually surf it. So let's just do that. Npm run surf, and then once that is started, it's going to take a minute to actually start running. We're going to drop our surfer down here as well. We're going to shut the surfer here and close that. We're going to leave it running. So as you can see, the surfer's still running there. And as you can see, this is now rose. Now if we press Alt and click this, this is going to give us this. So let's slap this to the side, open up the window 2, and let's just drag this as small as it can go for now. There you go. Let's just close this side for now. Shut the server down. Go into source. We're going to right click assets and delete them. We do not need them. Ignore the errors for now. Components, delete them. We do not need them right now. And inside of the app, that is the only file we need open. So let's close that. Close both of these for now. Let's delete everything within here. Delete this. Delete the components. And hit save. And there you go. We should now not have any issues. The template requires ter element root. Oh yeah, we need something in here. So before I do that, I'm just going to change. I'm going to detect the content. I'm going to swap it from indent to tabs. And then I'm going to tab using for because it looks cleaner, especially when making a tutorial. Now inside of here, we're going to have a app. And inside of the app, we're just going to write header. And we have a H1. Which is going to say, take a screenshot, hit save, and there you go. You can see we've got take a screenshot. Also, this should be an ID. And then under here, we're going to have a main, and inside the main, we're going to have a form. Now, this form, we're just going to give it, we're going to give it an action of @submit.prevent. Now, what the .prevent does is basically, it does what you think it would. E.prevent default, and that's what it does. In JavaScript, this would signify E.prevent default. To stop the form from actually submitting, we just do this to stop it, basically. We're going to add a function in here in a moment, but for now, we do not need to. We're then going to give an input of URL with the name of URL and ID of URL. We're then going to get another input called submit, and this will just say take screenshot, hit save. Now, once we have done that, we can go underneath the form. We'll create an anchor tag. We'll just set it to hash for now. And in here, we're going to say image. And we don't actually need anything for this image or anything yet. We're going to fill this out in a second. Hit save, and you're going to see nothing. There you go. So this is all we need for the markup as of yet. We're going to be adding to obviously the empty fields like the prevent, the input value, and also the rest of this here. So for now, let's go into our script tags. Let's in here, we're going to import a reference. We're going to be the only thing we need from Vue right now is going to be the ref. Just like that. Yeah, I've got it. Oh, we've got ref, but it's not defined. Perfect. So we're going to create a setup now. And inside the setup, set this equal to a function or a method. And then we're going to create a constant called URL, which we're going to set to a reference. And by default, this is going to be http:// hit save. And we're going to get another error. So now we just need to return URL. Hit save. And there you go, it's now back to normal. So we've created our URL, this is going to be our base URL, and we need to model this using the model. So this is just going to bind the two values, so it's going to bind whatever we type into our input field, it's going to bind it with this URL, and likewise, anything we change this variable to, it will also do the same. So we'll just go pass in here, URL, hit save, and as you can see, it's now defaulted with the HTTP forward slash inside of the input fields there, which is nice. We're then going to need another reference. So we're going to say const screenshot URL or URL equal to ref. And this one is just going to be an empty string for now. Again, we're just going to need to pass this through here. And this is going to be the URL we use inside of the href here. So we're going to bind this by saying phi-bind or just colons and pass through the screenshot URL. And same with the source. We're then going to set this to be target equals to underscore blank. And we can also pass the download attribute on here, although I don't think it's going to work in my Chrome because of security reasons, but that's fine. It should work on pretty much every other browser. And there you go. That's all we need here. But we also need a phi if, because currently in our markup, although this is going to break it, you're going to see inside of app, main, blank. You're going to see here, it's still showing this. We don't actually need this to show. All we just need to say phi if screenshot URL is not equal to empty strings. And that's going to hide it completely from our tag here. There you go. So that means it won't be in the markup until we actually have a value for our screenshot URL, meaning it's not going to be an issue. It's not going to cause any issues there. So there you go. So that's now done. Now we need our function called request screenshot. And how we're going to do this is going to be another asynchronous function. And we're going to do an arrow function for this. And then we're going to pass through this function in here. Now all we're going to do is log our URL dot value, because inside of here we need to use value. And that should now, if we get this request screenshot and actually pass it through the form, if we open up our terminal, let's just stick this to the bottom so it's not in the way. And we just hit take screenshot. Oh, we've got to put in a proper one. We'll just say test.com. Hit take screenshot. You'll see it says test.com down here, which is perfect. So it's console logging the correct stuff. So let's go in here and we're going to need to write up some more methods here. So we're just going to create a constant called result or res, and we're going to create an await fetch function. So we're going to be using fetch to make requests to our server, and the URL is localhost 5000 if you remember. So make sure your port matches this, and then / screenshot, which is what we named our root. So if we go back to our server and go into our server.js, you'll see we created this / screenshot and ran it on port 5000. So these are the two values we actually need here. And then once we have done that, we can then give a comment and pass through some values in here. And what we're going to need to say is we're going to need to set the method. Now the method is going to be a post request. The headers is going to be content-type with capital C and T. And we're going to say application / JSON. Now underneath headers, we're just going to give the body. Now the body is going to be JSON.stringify, and we're going to stringify an object. And this object, oh, we don't need that semicolon. And this object is going to be URL, which is going to be equal to URL.value. Now, this is going to throw an error. What's it saying? Res is the, yeah, we created this, but we ain't doing anything with it. Now, we're going to, for now, just log it after here. So we'll say log res. Now, we're not going to get a perfect result here. So when we send this request, let's just put in my own website again. Let's click take screenshot. You're going to see we get a response here, and actually we get a body, but there's nothing actually in the body yet. We actually got a promise here, essentially. So what we need to do is inside of our fetch request, after it, we're going to do .then, and we're going to say data is data.json. So we're just going to convert it to JSON before we return it to our result method. And now in here, if we just refresh, and we just say tylerpots.co.uk again, take screenshot, you can see we get success, true, and ID. Now, if we copy this ID, and we go into our browser, and we go to localhost 5000 / static / screenshots / that.png. For some reason, this screenshot has become out white, which, Okay guys, so it turned out I made a mini error in this. Here when we had, in this code here, this actual page.goto did not have an await before it. Any method we do with the page needs an await because else it's just going to return. So we were getting a white screenshot here, as you can see here, a bunch of white screenshots, which is fine. So now inside of here, now we've got this working, we should be able to type in my URL, tylerpods.co.uk, hit take a screenshot, and there you go, it gave us that. And if we look here, the new screenshot is now done. So we've got that through. So now how do we display this on screen? So what we're going to do is we're going to set the screenshot URL dot value equal to res.id. But that's not all. We need to actually cut this, and we're going to say, we're going to use template strings, and we're going to say HTTP localhost 5000, which is the server, /static /screenshots / and then we're going to pass through our res.json.id, and then we're going to say .png. Now we have that sorted, we should just hit save. And now once we take a screenshot, click take screenshot. It might take a minute, but you can see here we get this large screenshot of my website. So to fix that, we're going to need to do a little bit of CSS. So down here, we're just going to say image, and we're just going to say width 400 pixels, max width 100%. Hit save, and there you go, that's much better. Let's give it a margin of 0 auto, or no, 32 pixels auto, and display it as block so it will always sit center. And there you go, that is the image all set and done. So now we can click it, we can open it up, and if you right click, you can obviously save image as. So that is how you make a screenshot tool with Vue.js and Node.js. Now we can do a lot more of this. We can add some options in here which will say, for example, it will just say width and height, so we can choose the width and height of the screenshot and stuff like that. But I'm going to let you figure that one out. All I'm going to say is you just bind more inputs to the body, which you then go into the server.js, and you may just have to pass the values. But I'm not going to tell you that. You've got to figure that out for yourself, but that's what I'm telling you. All right, guys, so thank you all for tuning into this video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, leave a comment if you have any questions, and don't forget to join our Discord server. We got hacked, but we're back. So, links in the description. Thanks for tuning into this video, guys, and peace out.